False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, lead writer, fansided.com. I'm joined today by a man who knows that one is one, two is two, three is three, four is four, and five means give us a five-star review. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. Welcome to the program, bud. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. And it's a holiday weekend. Happy Memorial Day to everyone out there. Honor the fallen. But we're gonna talk some college football today, and we're not talking
Yeah.
about fallen. We're talking about things that are happening right now. So I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Dog sitting on day seven of kind of being sick. Nose, it's just glue coming out at this point.
Yeah, we
Maybe.
we you're John Elmer Bueller now. That's what I called you before the show, and we're sticking with it, man.
Um, I thought I saw a rabbit, but that's just a dog over there
It
with
happens.
with emo bangs. Yeah, she's doing great, sweetie. But yeah, it's Memorial Day. We're obviously gonna finish the program up, remembering some dudes. None of them
Mhm.
are dead. Maybe one of them's dead, but maybe we won't. It doesn't matter.
I
We'll
think mine
see.
are all alive, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Okay. Yeah, but we're gonna have a Memorial Day episode. We're coming to you semi-live, so we're recording here on Sunday evening here. Cody's gonna go to a movie. A little upkeep here. I'm gonna be flying solo like a cup on the next two shows.
Mhm.
Cody's coming to my neck of the woods, so we'll probably meet up possibly. And then he's going back to North Carolina. Come on, to raise up. So we're back on June 5th with a regular Thursday episode. And then on June 9th, for 6-9, we're doing the league on a Monday. Why not?
That's right. And but while you're here, any of those episodes, smash the like button like you're Russell from the league. That's what he likes to do. So smash it real hard. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. Uh, we love the starters, man. We love all y'all. We appreciate it.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh, and we've obviously false started here. We don't have any tiny tomatoes that will do things to us, but we got some update here from the college football playoff world. We're going to pat the dock to start. New changes will be implemented to the CFP format this year, including straight seeding and Notre Dame being eligible for a first round bye. So, again, this is the last year of the 12-year contract with ESPN for TV. We went from 4 teams to 12 teams last year. But the big and most controversial thing was the four highest ranked conference champions got shoehorned into top four seeds. That led to teams like Boise State and Arizona State being incredibly inflated, and also put teams like Oregon and Georgia in tough spots where all four of the teams lost in the quarterfinals. So
Right.
we're not doing that anymore. So this is exciting, but there's also a little bit of worry and apprehension at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think just my initial thoughts are this is what it should be. Like, not every conference is created equal. And like I say that as an ACC fan, one of the leagues that is obviously hurt by that. Hell, they didn't even benefit from it last year, you know what I mean? But like I say that as an ACC fan. Not every league is created equal, and it should be straight seeding because the four best teams came from two leagues last year. Just point blank period. That's what it came down to, and they should be rewarded for that. So that's my initial takeaway. But when you talk about the pitfalls, they are definitely there because it gives the college football playoff selection committee a reason to deflate Boise State, to not give Boise State a home game. It gives them the same disrespect that they would give to an Arizona State or the Big 12 champion or whatever. So like it opens a lot of Pandora's boxes that I'm not sure is going to get this. Like I think a lot of fans' reaction is the same as my initial reaction. Like this is what it should be. This is good. But once you think about it just a little bit more, it is a very slippery slope.
Yeah, it's kind of like, the United States Supreme Court, where it's like they're going to interpret the Constitution or their own Constitution in a
Yeah.
completely different way. We hope that they go the way that we want them to, but there are absolutely no guarantees here.
Mhm.
But nobody's like doing this for life. There's nobody who's been on the playoff committee since 2014. This isn't a
Right. Yeah. This isn't a lifetime appointment. Maybe it's a little bit like Congress, and talking
right,
like when Congress looked at pornography, like you'll know a team that should host a playoff game when you see it. Like that's kind of
right.
might be where we're going with the college football playoff selection committee.
Yeah, I mean, it's all obscene anyway.
That's right.
I guess like the big thing for me is like Bill Connelly, who's going to be a major focal point of this episode. He looked at what the seating would have been in this new format, uh, last year. So your number one seed would have been Oregon, two Georgia, three Texas, and four Penn State.
Hmm.
That would have moved everybody else down. Notre Dame would have not benefited I think they would have been the five seed anyway.
Yeah.
And I think in his estimation, like this article he wrote, it was still going to be Ohio State versus Notre Dame anyway, because Georgia was really beat up there,
Hmm.
and Ohio State had so much momentum. But like, I think you're right though. Like with the way this goes, this definitely hurts. It hurt Boise State and Arizona State's minimal chances of potentially winning playoff games considerably. And they played well. I mean, Arizona
Hmm.
State went toe to toe with Texas, and Boise held its own versus Penn State, but it was all for naught.
No, 100%. I don't know if you saw Boise State's administration's reaction to all of this, but basically saying like getting a little combative with it, which if I was Boise State's administration, I would too. But like, saying just call it the Boise State rule at this point, because that's basically what it is. Like that, if you're an ESPN market, like that's really what you're looking for. Like you don't want to be banking on Boise State, Penn State. You would rather have that in a first round matchup where we're almost guaranteed that's where the G5 champion is going to be, is in a first round matchup at this point. Like, I think we've seen one and done with, in terms of a G5 champion getting, a bye. God, I don't know why I can remember that word. It's a Sunday, man. We're on weekend time. But, like, I think that Boise State has a right to be pissed about this. If the Big 12 is pissed about it, I'm sure like they have a reason to be. Hell, with what we think of Clemson this year, I think that the ACC probably has some gripes about this as well, because Clemson's not guaranteed to get a bye if they win the league this year. So like there's a lot going on here, and like again, I come down on the idea that like my initial reaction is positive, but the more I think about it, it starts to sour more negative.
It's not with everything, but I got two things before I move on. If you got anything
Yeah.
else, you can follow up here. So the Boise State rule, that seems very interesting as well. Like maybe that's what it's called here because like, in theory, like Arizona State did what it needed to do to like, be up there like a Power Four league, winning its league. You're probably going to get up there more often than not.
Yeah.
A little bit overinflated, but not considerably. Also, they were seated higher than Clemson was anyway.
Yeah.
So like,
Right.
but it's I think it's interesting that Commissioner Jim Phillips said like this may not always be in the best interest of the ACC, but I think it's in the best interest of the sport of college football. And he hasn't always been the best person when it comes to judging things, but like I think he's trying, Jennifer.
Hey, he's trying to do what's best for the kids, but I'm not sure he's a good dad. Is really what it boils down to at this point. But I mean, if you're Jim Phillips and you're the ACC, and same with Brett Yormark in the Big 12, like you don't have leverage in these conversations. You don't. Like the SEC and the Big Ten are much more valuable commodities to ESPN, to the college football playoff, than your leagues are, and that's just the unfortunate but very true truths of this matter. And so like when he says something like that publicly, it really reads to me as, yeah, we had to concede something. And that's kind of what this is. Because, like, it feels like if we want to be a part of this, we have to concede something.
And they did not consider. They made this a point in the article that I believe Heather Dinich wrote for ESPN. Like the money is still the same.
Right.
So like if you win your league, like Arizona State's still going to get 8 million.
Exactly.
If you get to the quarterfinals, you get I think you get 4 million. I don't know if that's splitting with like your conference. Maybe
I,
it is
I, I think it,
because
I think it is, because I remember it being a big story that Notre Dame didn't have to split with anyone as an
yeah,
independent.
because they're pulling in something like 12, 20 million, if I recall
Yeah.
correctly.
Which is, you know, the benefits of being an independent. There aren't many, but that's one of them for sure.
And I guess like the last thing I've got here is, man, Penn State had it so easy last year.
Mhm.
And I think that like they got valuable experience, but that experience, you went out there and you beat the absolute tar out of SMU at
Yeah.
home. And then you go and you beat a team that you're just better than in Boise State. You went toe to toe with Notre Dame, you didn't win. So maybe like that's pitting the Nittany Lions in rose-colored glasses in some way. It's so hard to tell with this team. I've got thoughts on them later.
No, 100%. It makes you question some things. Like I'm still probably high on Penn State. Like I'm not going to come out of this like negative on them by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, I mean they beat SMU so badly that like SMU fell out of college football's collective consciousness. Like no one's talking about them this
No.
offseason because they got their ass beat so badly. So like I do think that Penn State, and like you mentioned it, like Boise State was a good football team. You had probably the best, like the one of the best players in college football that you had to go up against. And like Ashton Genty played well, but he didn't play like Ashton Genty. You know what I mean? And so like I'm still high on Penn State when you come out of this, but it is going to be interesting to see how this changes the dynamics of this because like you talked about, Bill Connelly said that Ohio State probably still goes on and wins the national championship. At the
Right.
same time, do they build the same momentum if they don't get to, absolutely like work Tennessee in that opening round game? Or if they're waiting on a bye, like have an extra week off, does that complacency start to set in? Like, there's a lot of questions in this of like, how does this, it's going to change the dynamics of it a little bit.
Yeah, and I've only got one question for you. Let's go with some Du Hast next.
Let's do it.
As Till Lindemann is sitting there in Germany somewhere for Ramstein with his microphone that's shaped like Mjolnir, pounding it down, he's looking at what's going here and he says, Du Hast or Du Hast.
And I will answer Du
Uh,
hast. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, are the changes to the new college football playoff in the best interest of the sport?
I'm gonna go Du hast two S's because of the way that question is framed. And that's the best interest of the sport. I think it's in the best interest of the Big Ten and the SEC. I don't know if it's in the best interest of college football. And this feels like we've talked about it before, mentioned it, but like there has been talk of a super league eventually, like just basically the Big Ten and the SEC competing for the national championship and like completely like, picking what they want from the ACC and the Big 12 and then just dominate, like operating as a two league system in a super league. That has been something that has been floated around. I don't think we necessarily get that dramatic, but I think we're heading towards something closer to that than I would absolutely like for college football. And that's what this feels like because like I know that there's going to be, the qualifications that you like the 4-4 the numbers all blend together, but the 4-4-3-2-2-1, whatever the model
Yeah.
is. Like I know we're gonna head there eventually, and like you're still gonna have those bids, but like with conference champions not being valued in the same way with in terms of seeding, and with seeding being based on this, it just feels like a way to reward the Big Ten and the SEC again. And like I agree. They are the two best leagues in college football, but if we're talking about the overall health, like that's going to create more of a divide between the ACC, Big 12, and the SEC and the Big 10.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I tried to rehearse this beforehand because I had time. I mean, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's in essence
That's
here in
right.
in West Midtown Atlanta. But I'm gonna go do Haas two S's as well because just there's so many unintended consequences that come along with this. And I think you mentioned a great one of like this really only helps the SEC and the Big Ten in the end. I think it also essentially like it hurts the conference championship things because again, if we're looking at the playoff selection committee
Mhm.
of a 13 person Supreme Court, if you will, how many of them are actually going to like look at a conference championship game and be like, you know what, there should be a bonus to someone's season and not a detriment. We look at it from last year. The SEC winner and runner-up both got in with Georgia and Texas.
Right.
The Big Ten SEC, the Big Ten champion and runner-up got in with Oregon and Penn State. And it was so borderline there with the ACC. Is SMU going to get in? Clemson had to win to get in, but
Mhm.
SMU ultimately did get in. And Iowa State was on the cutting room floor. They were among the first 4 or 5 out, but the Big 12 is only going to get one team in anyway. But it's like at this point, like, are we really going to trust these people hanging out in Grapevine, Texas, in
Right.
November to do the right call here? And I guess like the other thing is, I'm really there are teams in the Big Ten, and there's teams in the SEC too, that will not schedule on-conference games because of this. There are
Mhm.
teams out there, like there's teams that will, like Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, Michigan's okay with this, but then there's
Auburn
teams,
to some degree, obviously.
Auburn will,
Auburn is not afraid to schedule anybody.
but then you're looking at the likes of like Nebraska and I love Missouri deserves enough flack there, but like historically they've kind of been that. Maybe the SEC is not as big of a culprit as
I mean, I
Nebraska is
love Lane
now.
Kiffin, but Ole Miss is not going to schedule a damn anybody in the
No,
non-conference.
no. So by doing this, it's like, what's the point? Like, oh, I just got to like be a top four team at my conference, and at that point, it's like, That's just their way to bastardize and ruin your entire conference as it is. Like your
Yeah.
your conference worth is based on how you beat people in bowl teams and playoff games and in the non-conference. That's how you develop these reputations.
So I had Lane Kiffin on the brain because you actually just sparked a thought that I do wonder if this is somewhat reactionary too. Going into the conference championship games last year, there was a big debate that kind of got started by Lane Kiffin of like, do you actually want to be in the SEC championship game? Because there's a chance it knocks you out of the playoff or knocks you down in your seeding. It was kind of proven last year that based on like the rankings, not the seeding, obviously, because of automatic buys for conference champions, but the rankings didn't change after the conference championship game. There was no penalty for playing in that. And so like there is a chance that they're looking at this like trying to further incentivize conference championship games and saying like, "Hey, you're not going to be penalized for playing in this game and having an opportunity. You're only going to improve your chances basically." And so like if you take away the automatic seeding component of that, like there's less like risk there by trying to go. Does that make sense where I'm coming from with that?
Right there with you. Like, if this would have been kicked out to 16 teams, the selection committee would not have punished Iowa State. Because if they would have
Right.
done it 16 this way, BYU would have gotten in over them. And they would,
Mhm.
in this situation, they wouldn't have done that. It would have kind of been like, unless if the conference is having an absolutely terrible season, which I don't think any of them were a year ago, like
Yeah.
you're basically locked into a top 16 seed at that point. There may be some sort of further legislation that will be say like, okay, you're playing for one of 16 spots. Like you're in, but like we don't know exactly like where you're going to qualify.
No, 100%. And then like to the point of seeding, like I realize I came on the negative side of this with two S's and Duhas, but like I do see some positives at least in their thinking. And like another one would be like as we did a playoff rankings reaction show every week that the rankings were revealed, one of us was on there reacting to it, doing the Goldilocks, too hot, too cold, and just right. Like when you're looking at it from that point of view, we had a lot of gripes throughout the season with like the way the committee was seating. But honestly, in a lot of avenues, it didn't really matter. Like
No.
there wasn't a lot of care being placed in that. Maybe in like this is maybe just trying to talk myself into some optimistic point of view, but like maybe this causes the college football playoff committee to actually take a little more care and use a little more logic with what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and you've mentioned this before, where like when it was only going to four, they and it wasn't necessarily that they were mailing it in from like 5 to 25, but like the pressure wasn't there.
Right.
Now the pressure is there from 1 to 12 now, and it will probably be from 1 to 14, probably
Hmm.
1 to 16. Like they're going to be honed in, and at that point, it wouldn't shock me if they expanded the committee. They're going to need more
Hmm.
people with more subtleties, more representation to kind of be able to say, okay, can we actually get the right 16 teams here? And at that point, that's all we need. Let's just do
Hmm.
that and go and get multiple TV partners in here, please, for the love of God.
Yeah. Definitely, we need that. Like, give me a Fox and ESPN like co-broadcast of the first round. Like, I don't care how long it lasts. Like ESPN, you can maintain the quarterfinals on, but like, give me something to give me some variety in this. And but like, you're exactly right. Like, this is. I do think this could absolutely give them more care with what they're doing with these rankings. And also, like, in terms of expanding the committee, maybe also more like diligence in what we're doing, like who's going on in this committee, maybe less of a boys club and more of an impartial committee that's going to actually be able to go into this room and not be like, have some ulterior motives, which we've definitely seen the conspiracy theories about to this point.
Yeah, because what it's all looking like at some point is in the 26-27 season, it's looking like we're going to have it's going to be straight seating. It's going
Hmm.
to be a 4+4. It's going to be a 4-4-2-2-1+3 model. So three at larges.
I was close. Hey, I
You're
got, I got.
Yeah, four AQs in the SEC, four AQs in the Big Ten, two AQs in the ACC, two AQs in the Big 12, one group of five AQ, and then the three at-large teams, which could be Notre Dame or anybody else for that matter. So
Right.
I think as long as like you're playing in the title bout, like I mean maybe in the SEC or the Big Ten, like you can't go from like 2 to 5, like losing that game, can you?
I don't think so.
And if you're in the ACC or the Big 12, like you're right there where like it won't matter like what the third best team last year in the Big 12 was BYU and the
Hmm.
ACC was Miami. And
Right.
they were among the first five out. So they're right there too.
No, 100%. And like, I guess to actually put a little negativity in here, since I did respond negatively to the question. Like, I look at something that like what happened last year, where, and this is an alternate reality, but that's how my mind works. Is I think about these alternate hypothetical scenarios. If we have straight seeding last year and SMU goes into the ACC championship game and they beat Clemson and they win that game, they complete the comeback and get it done. Excuse me. If they get that done in this straight seeding model, would they ever have a chance to get an automatic bye despite the fact that they would be 12-1, or sorry, not an automatic bye, just a bye, like be a top four seed in this new model? And like I feel like when I say like, is this bad for the sport? That's what I'm thinking about, because I just feel like there's no chance in hell that they would ever give SMU a top four seed, even if they were a 12-1 conference champion in that scenario.
It's I'll call it the Washington effect. Washington
Hmm.
basically needs to go undefeated to do that. And if you're less than Washington and aren't that level of a blue blood, you're the Xavier of college football. Where like it's a stepping stone job for belts. It's a damn good job. You can
Yeah.
it's a very much a pillar of the sport. But like if you're less than that, like you just don't have the gravitas. Like TCU, it was like that too.
Hmm.
Baylor's arguably that level too. Utah as well. Like
Hmm.
there's just it's the haves and have-nots. I mean, Michigan State's like
I was about
very
to mention Michigan
borderline,
State, which they have, like, they're a very well endowed program, but like they're not the brand.
but the good news is Auburn's absolutely above that. Oregon was in that crew. Oregon's absolutely above that now. You can earn your way in there. It's like
Mhm.
Gonzaga with men's basketball, where like they've earned the benefit of the doubt by being ridiculously good for a quarter century. You can do that now.
Yeah, 100%. Like, sports fandom has grown in a way, and like there are many times when our access to information is not a good thing. Let's be clear about what that means for us as a society. Like, I do not believe that all of the information that we have is a good thing at all times. However, as a sports fan, it is a very good thing, because hell, I was complaining about this the other day. UNC Wilmington was in the CAA baseball tournament. I wanted to watch them because they were playing in the final. It was on Flow Sports. And I was upset about that as a UNCW alumni, because I wanted to watch them play. Flow Sports is a subscription service that I do not subscribe to, because all they have is CAA athletics and wrestling. Not to like That's not something I'm like investing my money in. But that is the outlier now. Like, every other college baseball tournament game that I wanted to watch, I basically could have at that point. And so, like, yeah, teams that may not have had the access, like 30 years ago, if you, unless you were in the Spokane area, you weren't watching a Gonzaga basketball game because they weren't available. Now I can watch Gonzaga whenever I want to. You can watch any of these college football teams. I can watch any FCS game that I basically want to in college football at this point. You can raise your stock in a way that's never been possible before.
Fantastic point. I got two more. I didn't know this was going to be the segment that was going to do it. I got two more thoughts here. So on the topic of, let's say SMU won,
Hmm.
Clemson does not make the playoff, and the
Correct.
12 seed would have been, or Alabama would have gotten in.
Hmm.
Where would SMU have been ranked in the straight seeding? Because I think they were like
Let me see.
nine. They were like, I think,
Actually, let me look this up real quick, because I think on ESPN you can go back to different weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So let me see if I can do that real quick.
yeah.
Because that would.
I'm looking at Bill Connelly's thing. So straight seeding, they would have been the 10 seed, would have played number seven Tennessee, then played Georgia. So they would have gone up from there.
I mean, and so like going into the ACC championship game, like at 11-1 before they played, they were the 8 seed. But like, if they win the ACC championship, you probably have a good case to put them over a Tennessee, to put them over an Ohio State at that point, potentially even over a Notre Dame, considering Notre Dame's one loss was to Northern Illinois, and they didn't play in a conference championship.
I think really the best situation here is like, okay, you win that, you're going to go ahead of Boise State, which would have been nine. You
Hmm.
go ahead of Indiana at eight because you've had a better resume there. And maybe it's just for the sake of this, like maybe you flip it with Tennessee,
Hmm.
but like that changes the order a little bit too. So in reality, you'd be playing the 11 at that point, which would have been SMU Arizona State. That would have been, oh yeah.
That'd have been electric, dude. That would have been a hell of a lot of fun.
Nobody thought about that too. And like the last thing here is just I got to talk about the Notre Dame bit of it all, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have neglected that part of the conversation to this point.
I operate under the principle of like don't make exceptions for unexceptional people. And even though Notre Dame is exceptional right now, there's been a lot of times in our lifetime where they've not been exceptional.
Correct. Correct.
And it's come and gone. Like we've seen them have them success under Brian Kelly, obviously under Marcus Freeman now, Lou Holtz back in the 80s and early 90s, but like maybe that 1 year under Charlie Weiss, if you will.
Yeah,
But
right.
like this just shoehorns them into so many advantageous situations where like they're never going to be asked to join a conference, and
Correct.
like it's not they don't need to do it. And maybe it's unique for the sport. Maybe it's the same sort of thing. Like, the Boston Red Sox are always going to play at Fenway Park, even though like the dimensions are hella wacky, or
Yeah.
Wrigley Field. Like you have to walk across the from one foul pole to the other to get to your seat.
Right. And I mean, Yankee Stadium, new Yankee Stadium has the short porch in right field. Like, the ballpark factor is a real thing, and like that's going to become somewhat relevant in terms of college football, not the ballpark itself, but like Notre Dame having something like that. I will say, like, it is strange, and it probably has a lot to do with how we're viewing Notre Dame right now in this exact moment. But it is strange that prior to this news that they wouldn't be eligible for a top four seed, even if they're one of the four best teams in the country. Like, I fully admit that, and like that's probably a prisoner of the moment type of take. But your point is well taken, and that we've watched a lot of mediocre Notre Dame teams get the benefit of the doubt because of the Golden Dome. Like that's just the fact of the matter. And so I don't want any more of that. I will say my optimistic take on that would be like under Marcus Freeman, I don't think there's going to be too many of those years that we're going to see. And I don't know. It's definitely a weird thing, but I think you definitely hit the nail on the head most with saying like this kind of puts a nail in the coffin of Notre Dame joining conference at this point. Like they have no incentive to do it. Why would they at this point? Especially when you just made like we were talking about earlier, $20 million by making it to the college football playoff national championship game because you're not in a conference.
Yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like you have to go 11-1 basically.
Mm,
You can't have a loss to Northern Illinois because that's probably the in
yeah.
another situation you're probably getting that one over Penn State last year. Yeah, I
Hmm.
don't think you were going to get past Texas, but it's like you have to do a certain number of things. But even in that situation, it just feels like it's still very difficult for them to get a top four seed.
No, agreed. Like they still have to go out and do the work. And like I guess that comes back to the conversation we were having about like the college football playoff selection committee having more, diligence in what they're doing in those rankings because like how like you're gonna have to like look at Notre Dame a little more objectively, or yeah, a little bit more objectively in these situations and be like, okay, I understand that they're Notre Dame, but also it's a lot different having a schedule that you handpicked as opposed to playing the SEC schedule that you didn't have a damn say.
No, Notre Dame does schedule
Oh yeah,
does they schedule enough and everything like that to do what they want. But I don't know the difference between objectivity or subjectivity. I just I don't have a golden dome. I just got Goldilocks. Let's
that's
move
right,
on to our
baby.
next. Let's move on to our third topic here.
That was an all-timer transition. I gotta tell you, that was up there with some of the best you've ever done.
I'm good for about one good one a day, but like.
I mean, like that's like top five all time. Like we're talking, that was a good one.
It's all about comedy and trying to say it without laughing. I'm still never gonna figure that out. But so we've got the SP Plus rankings, top 25 from Bill Connelly at ESPN after spring. It's all over the place. Look, this is different than what a rankings would be because I
Mhm.
believe you're a little more analytics driven than me. So it's what returning players, recent productivity, and recruitment, I think are the three things that factor into it the most.
Yeah, and not just returning players, but returning production, which I think is a very key thing. Like it's not just like the program you retain, but like production. And I believe that if I'm not mistaken, in recent years, Connolly has taken into account transfers with like some kind of weighted average in that. Like if someone produced for another school, like Carson Beck is a good example.
Right.
Like Miami's not going to be penalized because they have a quarterback who didn't produce for them last year. Like that's not going to penalize them necessarily.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Arizona State with Udo coming in from Army in essence.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so
Okay.
like that factors in there and like the one part that really bothered and we're going to talk about this, trust me, but the part that really gets me and you'll hear it it'll be my refrain for the next two segments because we're going to keep going with this, but the 4 years of success and like what you've done in the past 4 years, I hate that more than anything.
Uh, you know, I used to hate two things. I used to hate oppressive dictators being added on Slack. Now, then I hated five things: oppressive dictators being added on Slack, wine, cheese, and Texas, and now I hate this.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Cheaper by half a dozen here. So we're gonna do some Goldilocks here. Before we begin, I'm gonna say the top 25 all out
Yeah.
because I wrote it down because Twitter was acting a fool yesterday.
It wasn't all the way fixed today. I don't know if you were scrolling on the mobile app this morning, but I would see a tweet from like specifically the Red Sox beat reporters, and I would like click on it and I'd go to their profile to see if there were any updates on that. And all the tweets were from yesterday. I didn't have anything from today. So yeah, it's still not all the way fixed.
No, so I had to look at this from an article because the on three clip of this from ESPN was not working for me. So top five are Ohio State one, Alabama two, Penn State three, Georgia four, Texas five. Six through 10, Notre Dame six, Oregon seven, Clemson eight, LSU nine, Michigan 10. 11 through 15, Ole Miss 11, Miami 12, Tennessee 13, Florida 14, Texas A&M 15, 16 to 20, 16 is Oklahoma, 17 South Carolina, 18 Kansas State, 19 Illinois, 20 SMU, and then 21 through 25 are 21 Missouri, 22 Arizona State, 23 Indiana, 24 Louisville, 25 Auburn. And your first 10 out are Texas Tech, BYU, Iowa, TCU, USC, Utah, Iowa State, Boise State, Nebraska, Baylor. I only hit my card table once in that. That was
That
impressive.
was I'm very impressed. That was very nicely done.
It's just reading and not drinking. This is false start.
It just means more, man. It just means more.
All right. So how many do you have for too hot? Just
I went one of each because we are going to expand upon this a little bit. So I didn't want to
right.
step on too many toes. So I'll start. You want me to start with too hot?
You go too hot.
Oh,
Yes.
we're starting at too hot with number two, which is the Alabama Crimson Tide. What the hell are we doing, brother? Look, we ended up not writing this for fansided.com, but the pitch I had for this was Kalen DeBoer is benefiting from Nick Saban's production. Like, this is why I hate the 4-year running model. If you look at if it was, we're just talking about Kalen DeBoer's tenure at Alabama, it's been underwhelming to this point. There's no two ways about it. Like, based on the standard that Nick Saban set, you have taken a step back from what you were. There are a lot of questions about this Alabama team. They did not make the college football playoff last year. And like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, how can you consider this the number two team in the country? And I understand everything that goes into it and why it happened. I just vehemently disagree with it.
Yeah, I had five for each because I'm a nerd, but Alabama was number one with a bullet here for too hot. They're at two. You could probably swap them down to eight with Clemson, and
Exactly.
that would work. Everything you're saying, like I didn't realize it was a 4-year running average, which throws everything in the loop here.
Yeah.
Kalen DeBoer is an exceptional coach. He's won everywhere. He's been great everywhere. He's been okay at Alabama. We've only seen 1 year
Mhm.
here. We've seen a lot of great coaches elsewhere just be okay at Alabama. That's a lot. That's
Yeah.
basically everybody between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban outside of Gene Stallings.
Who's just, a clown. But like, it is what
Uh,
it is.
but another team that kind of checks that box similarly is Michigan at 10. It's the same
Mhm.
sort of thing where the Jim Harbaugh of it all and the Sharon Moore of it all, it's the exact same paradigm. I'd probably swap Michigan down there with South Carolina at 17.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And like that again, that's why I have such a problem with this, like the formula that's used. Like, even if it was 3 year, it would still like weigh the more recent history and like coaching changes such as that, like more heavily. Like, and I think that's what I need. Like a 33.3% versus 25% of what Sharon Moore and Kalen DeBoer have done means a lot more to me.
The three others I had, Ole Miss is a gross outlier too at 11. They're going to probably be ranked 23 to 25.
Mhm.
Again, Ole Miss has had a lot of success, but they last year was the year it needed to click for them. They lost so much talent. It's going to be Austin Simmons, who I'm higher on than you. It's Lane Kiffin. The staff is
Yeah.
still mostly intact, but like they're going to be seated, they're going to be ranked a lot lower. And then I was kind of picking it's like with Texas A&M and Penn State. Penn State at three, Texas A&M, I believe at like 15. It's like at the end of the day, they recruit well, but do they always deliver? I think Elko's a
Yeah.
better coach than Jimbo, and then James Franklin, we know all about him.
Yeah, we know the driver real well. I have more thoughts on one of those teams that you mentioned here coming in a little bit. So we'll
All right.
talk about that.
All right. All right. Who are they too cold on?
I mean, too cold. There's a lot that I think you could throw in here. I've really got to go with South Carolina though. You mentioned them already at 17, and like, come on, man. I think one of my other problems with the 4-year running average is it doesn't take into account necessarily what we're talking about when we're talking about like programs that aren't just like they just aren't in a position to have the sustained success of a Texas, of an Alabama, of a Texas, of an Ohio State. Like South Carolina is not in that position. However, Shane Beamer has this thing running pretty damn hot right now. And like they're not only are they on the upswing right now, but like when it's a 4 year running average, I would venture to guess that in 3 years, when you Dylan Stewart and Lenora Sellers and all these guys are gone from the program, you're probably going to see a little bit of a lull from South Carolina. And the fact that you're always baking in that lull doesn't really give you an accurate interpretation of what that team is going into a given season. Like I feel like the what a program is and like the highs and lows, like the we talk all the time about pop years and like I feel like SP Plus doesn't necessarily bake in what a pop year means and like programs that are basically constructed to have pop years.
I'll try to throw this in there without being too nerdy. It's like looking at the S&P 500 in the market. It's like on average, it's going to do 10% year over year. There are some years where it's way down. There are some years where it's barely up. South Carolina is going to have those years where it's like, oh yeah, we got I'm trying to think what the word is. Yeah, hold on here. Okay, my sister just texted me. I thought that was Rosemary. That's not what she said.
Okay.
But anyway, like South Carolina is going to have those years where it's like, oh, plus 25, minus 22, plus
Mhm.
3, plus 7. So you're still going to be plus 10. Whereas Michigan's like plus 10, plus 11, plus 9, minus 1. Like it's a
Yeah.
little steadier. But like I think that this takes it's rewarding steadiness in most aspects of life.
Mhm.
That's fair. But like there's programs out there like South Carolina and Arizona State who have a little bit more ebb and flow, but still maintain the same return.
No, 100%. And like I have a feeling that there's one team you're going to mention in Too Cold that falls into this exact same category.
Yes, I had South Carolina. Arizona State's too cold as well.
Mhm.
Um, they're at 22. I'd have them probably at like 12.
Yeah.
Uh, Another one that's way too cold on here. This is my biggest take on here. Clemson's too cold a little bit too. Texas is a little too cold as well at 8 and 5 respectively. Boise State at 33 is
Okay.
absolutely
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a little tough on the G5 there. I'm not so sure about that.
They've been dominant for 25 years as a program. Like,
And also, like, honestly, Boise State is the perfect like amalgamation of what we of the two major points that we've talked about to this point. Coaching change. You hired the wrong coach. Okay, it happens. You get Spencer Danielson in there. Seems like he knows how to run Boise State and get Boise State back to what Boise State is supposed to be. So you're not factoring in the coaching change, and then you're also not factoring in like it's a G5 program. They have been the most consistent G5 program in the country, but you're grading them on a curve that is just like as the same level as you're grading in Ohio State and Texas. That feels weird. That feels wrong. That doesn't feel like it encapsulates what the Broncos are.
do you remember the coach's name before Spencer Danielson? I think it's Avila, I think.
That sounds right. Oh God,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look it up now. Give me 1 second. You
But
vamp and I'll look it up.
but like so they made a coaching change 2 years ago and everyone was like, "Oh, this is so bad. They have to get rid of this guy." And they did. And then they went on and they won the Mountain West.
Hmm.
Like and then they went on and Ashton Genty, who we weren't even sure how to pronounce his name a year ago, went out there and just set college football on fire.
I mean, that's nothing new for me. Andy Avalos, that's who it was.
Oh yes. I was like Eric Avila. I'm like, no, it's Andy Avalos. But that's a great point. Like you made a coaching change. Like the program is back to what it was like under what Chris Peters,
Chris Peterson,
Dan Hawkins,
yeah, I'm totally blanking.
Brian
Brian
Harson.
Harson, thank you. I couldn't think of Brian Harson's name. It was killing me.
I know Boise State should be in the top 25. It's ridiculous they're not.
So the team I thought you were going to mention, which I think is like the falls in the same category as South Carolina, is Illinois sitting there at 19. And like it's the same thing. Illinois is built for the pop year. Like that's what the program is constructed to be. You're never going to be Ohio State and Michigan, and that's completely fine if you're the Fighting Illini. But when you're going into a season where we're talking about Illinois winning 10 or 11 games, like that doesn't that it's just a flaw in the SP plus system.
Yeah, I will talk on Illinois a little bit later. I've got them in another segment that I think is worthwhile for them.
Okay.
But yeah, like Illinois is definitely a team of great intrigue for me. Anybody else too cold for you, or you want to go on to just right?
Let's go to just right because I've got one in just right.
I'm good with Ohio State being at one. I really
Yeah.
am. I'm like they recruit at an elite level. They've got a elite coaching staff. They've suffered a lot of attrition to both. They're the only program in the country that's never been bad once. The only
Yeah.
time they were bad, Luke Fickell was their coach for
It,
1 year.
it happens. It happens to the best of it.
I don't have much to add to that, but I thought that Ohio
No,
State's
yeah.
like was number one there for me.
100%. And like it's one of like Ohio State being just right at number one. That's not who I have, but like you're absolutely right there. And but like them being at number one is why fans going into last year were so pissed off at Ryan Day, is because they're run like the best program in college football, truly. Like no slight to Georgia. Georgia's like 1B in
Right.
that category. But like when you look at that, it's one of those things where it's like, man, Ohio State probably should have won more than one national championship in Ryan Day's tenure at this point.
But they have one. That's all that really
Yeah,
matters.
exactly. I'm saying like going into last year, like when we were highly critical of Ryan Day before the playoff.
I wonder if he's going to start still being the most rosy-cheeked person alive once he goes gray. But he's gonna,
Probably,
I mean, he's gonna
probably
be
he's gonna
like,
look like Santa Claus. It's gonna be great.
I have to check. Listen, I have to check it twice.
That's right.
I mean, you and I both know he's gonna just start dyeing his hair like Coach K did.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, he's gonna be like 84 years old and just have jet black hair.
I mean, he's older than us. I've got a few gray hairs.
Yeah,
It's fine.
it comes for us all, brother.
The heartburn of the gray hairs.
The heartburn, the gray hairs, and the just for men. Let's go.
I got a couple of other ones that I thought were just right too. Like I'm good with Notre Dame at 6,
Hmm.
Oregon at 8, LSU at 9, Georgia at 4. Like it seems like what they've done, what they're going, like there's not too much to like gripe about there for me.
No, so this is actually the one that for Goldilocks that I had two for. One was Oregon, like you said, at 7. Like I think like you haven't gotten over the hump yet, and like, but you're still one of the best programs in college football, and like that's kind of what 7 really indicates to me. And also like if you look at what we're projecting for the AP Top 25, that's about where Oregon's going to be this season, so it makes perfect sense. The other one I had SMU at 20. Whether you're looking at the 4-year average, whether you're looking at what they're going to be going into the 2025 season, I think SMU at 20 is like the real perfect encapsulation of what the SMU program is, because like they're never bad. They just like over the past few years, like we've grown accustomed to SMU just being there and being in that mix, in that kind of spot. And like last year, yes, they had the pop year, but also like I feel like more so SMU with Illinois or South Carolina, like that pop year is kind of banked in there and like weighed out and like average. So like SMU feels very accurate as like a top 25 team, but not like an elite team.
Yeah, I'll talk about SMU in the same segment I'll be
Okay.
talking about Illinois. So I've got some thoughts about the ponies as well. But
Nice.
yeah, got through Goldilocks a lot quicker than I thought we would.
Hey, we were fast talking a little bit in that one, but that's
You know,
okay.
Jimbo Fisher comes for us all, and when I said to Jimbo Fisher after he got fired, or his wife said to him after he got fired, "You're doing great, sweetie."
That's right.
South Carolina at 17. What are we doing? This is the most disrespected team in college football by a country mile. Probably number two is Clemson, which is going to make for one hell of a Palmetto Bowl.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, first off, Palmetto Bowl might be number one in like my rankings of games I'm most excited to see for the 2025 season, and that's including Ohio State and Texas in that. Like, give me the Palmetto Bowl all day. Like, that's going to be a hell of a game. I can't wait for it to cap off the regular season there in South Carolina. But yeah, South Carolina. I mean, I've been trying to weigh how much of it is just our biases. Like, we're all in on this South Carolina team, and like how much of it is based in reality. But like, I really think we're not off base here. Like, this doesn't feel like an NC State type take from me last year. Like, it feels like we're looking at this situation. We're looking at what Shane Beamer's done. We're looking at what Shane Beamer's built. And it feels like South Carolina is actually humming in a way that's like going to pay off.
I certainly hope so. I think Beamer's, he knows exactly what he's doing at this job and everything like that. We saw what they did last year. Yes, they lost a lot of talent to the draft. We think Clayton White's a fantastic defensive coordinator. Yeah, you did lose Dowell Loggins to
Mhm.
the App State job, but the,
Yeah.
the offensive coordinator stuff's kind of been a revolving door there with the Marcus Satterfields of the world.
Hey, upgrade, baby.
Yeah, I don't even know who South Carolina's OC is now. I feel like I should know it.
I feel like it's someone notable. I feel like they
Yeah.
went out and replaced him. Let's see. Google machine, offensive coordinator. That would be, oh yeah, Mike Shula. They brought Mike
Okay.
Shula, but I knew it was a name I recognized. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We're really high in South Carolina. I'll say this to the starters out there in the world. The South Carolina Clemson are two teams that Cody and I just don't like
Oh
most of the
yeah.
time. They're
I hate them.
rivals of
I
our
hate both of them.
they're
Like,
rivals
get
of
out of
they're
here.
they're the two teams that are rivals of both North Carolina and Georgia.
This is going to be a very uncomfortable college football season for both of us. Like, we're not excited for this. We just know that these teams are good.
No, and it's like, Clemson is to Georgia is South Carolina to North Carolina. They play all the time.
Yeah.
And then it's also like there's a chance where South Carolina could be the Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani Angels, or just the New York Jets. We're just or the Bears, where we're just told they're so great all offseason, and then they're not.
Off-season champs. But like it's hard to be and I guess like the way I'm looking at South Carolina is if I'm getting like super big picture of why, like beyond like me really liking Lenore Sellers, beyond me being really high on the defense, beyond me being high on Shane Beamer and what he's capable of when he has things going in the right way. Like Shane Beamer, and this is, I don't say this about many coaches, he's kind of a microwave. Like when he gets hot, he stays hot. Like that's just kind of how Shane Beamer coaches. And so, like, I'm into that, but like in a bigger picture sense, we got like sucked into Ole Miss last year because of all the talent they brought in from the transfer portal. How much of that talent was really homegrown developed? Like, not a whole hell of a lot of it. Like, it wasn't that. South Carolina is that perfect blend, like a Texas, like an Ohio State, where you have this homegrown talent that is elite, that can be like special. Like we talk about Lenora Sellers, someone who is homegrown in Columbia, or in the program, excuse me, but like has been homegrown at the in the program. And we talk about him as a Heisman candidate. We talk about Dylan Stewart, someone who came in as a freshman and just dominated immediately. Like that's someone who's in there in his program. But then you supplement all of that in the transfer portal. Like that's how you build a successful national championship or high level college football playoff caliber program. That's why we're high on South Carolina from a very macro sense.
And we're not even talking about Nick Harbor. Like if
Yeah,
he gets lost,
yeah, exactly.
which is
Dude's a
ridiculous.
freak. Like we did the super bad episode a couple of days ago or weeks ago or whatever. It's the fastest kid alive. He's a freak. Like
So Shane Beamer is obviously the son of legendary Virginia Tech head coach Frank Beamer. He's also learned from some of the very best, Steve Spurrier,
Mhm.
Kirby Smart, Lincoln Riley before he sold his soul to the devil, I would assume.
That's right.
uh, but can't wait to see Lincoln Riley in Righteous Gemstones at some point.
Needs to happen.
It needs to happen at some point. Yeah, that's the new show we're watching. But anyway, like you mentioned this with South Carolina, like everybody, with the exception of Spurrier, like this is where you go to die as a coach. But Beamer learned this. You got to recruit the Charlotte Mecklenburg area, and you also got to recruit like where you're from. You can't let Mason Rudolph go to Oklahoma State. You bring him in.
Right.
But then you get other guys like the peak Spurrier years. These guys are all homegrown. Jadavian Clowney, Stephon Gilmore, Melvin Ingram, Alshon Jeffrey, Marcus Lattimore. These are
Marcus Lattimore,
all
yeah.
Connor Shaw again. Like there's all like
Oh God. God, we're gonna remember some dudes later, and I should have put Connor Shaw in here. I freaking loved Connor Shaw, man.
yeah, just from Flowery Branch, Georgia, back before that thing apparently exploded. But Shane Beamer, there's a coach like Shane Beamer in the Big Ten, and people dunk on him a lot, but it's kind of the same thing. Him and PJ Fleck are kind of one of the same.
They really are. And like PJ Fleck kind of fits in that microwave category too. Like once they get at that inertia, and whether that's in a single season or whether that's, in a program sense, it's really hard to stop them. Like that there's like PJ Fleck hasn't gotten the credit for it because Minnesota lost a little bit of that inertia. Like, after in like the post Tanner Morgan era, I guess, or like actually it started in Tanner Morgan's final season there when you lost a lot of the skill position talent, but still, like he lost a little bit of that momentum. But now that he's getting it back, like Minnesota's a team like every week we're like when we're doing picks and like upsets and stuff like that, you look at that and it's like, man, that's an Admiral Akbar candidate because like Minnesota can beat any team in the Big Ten on any given week.
Yeah, Admiral Akbar. Yeah, he definitely went to Minneapolis.
Oh,
He
100%. Yeah.
he
Twin
loved.
Cities, baby. That's what he's all about.
He's a really big Wild fan. Really likes the replacements,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
uh, he just feel comfortable eating a juicy Lucy in front of somebody. It's just too gross.
He,
It's
he
like
eats all his he eats all his meals at the Mall of America.
Dude, he's the Zoidberg of Star Wars.
Yes.
I saw something from like Futurama where like Fry goes to like a bank and they asked him like what his PIN number was. Oh, this is how much it cost for a Coke and a pizza back in 1999. I had 69 cents in there, and over 1,000 years, it turned out to be with inflation like $48 billion in a bank.
Hey, we're headed there, man. You know, going to McDonald's is not what it used to be. That's for sure.
I think they're going to stop printing pennies here soon.
I mean, at this point, yeah, you know. And hey, you know what? Maybe it'll make the math a little easier for everyone, so they're not having to count pennies into my hand.
No, I mean like it costs 7 cents to make it one that's worth 1 cent. It's just a deficit. But I guess like the other thing with like Beamer is like his nickname is cocky. Like
Yeah.
and PJ Flex got the row the boat thing. We've always said that like they kind of rub people the wrong way. Where like when it's bad, people like immediately pile on them because of Flex faith based nature thing with kind of holier than thou. And Beamer just
Mhm.
kind of being kind of a front runner. But like you kind of wonder like what if Fleck was the head coach at Michigan, or
Mhm.
what if Beamer was the head coach at Georgia or Oklahoma? Like if they're at a true traditional power, like maybe that's in the cards for them at some point.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe Beamer can make that happen at South Carolina. Flex seems to be in his bag at Minnesota, but like we know that that opportunity is out there, and eventually I think they'll get it.
No, and it's funny you mentioned Michigan because as you're saying that, I'm sitting there thinking they both have a little hardball in them. Like truly, they both have a
Yeah,
little bit of hardball in
yeah.
them. Where like their fans love the dude and would run through a brick wall for them. The players the same way. Then like it's a culture that everyone else hates, but that just works at the end of the day.
Well, like Harbaugh was with like the San Diego Toreros and Stanford, and then he went like big time with 49ers, Michigan. Kind of regressed with the Chargers, but yeah, it's the same sort of thing.
You know, I think that's more of a Chargers problem, but that's another conversation for another day.
Dude, we root for teams that are like that too. It's
I
just
know
like
it's unfortunate.
it's unfortunate here, but yeah, the South Carolina disrespect is just it's out of control here. Again, maybe this could be a Paul Finch satin kimono at some point. The longer we sit here and think about it, but like
Yeah,
I
we
don't
might need
think
to
so.
cool it on South Carolina. Like, just take a month hiatus from talking about the Gamecocks, just so we like cool the fire on us just a little bit.
I mean, maybe we're talking too much Penn State, Clemson, and South Carolina for my taste. I think like Oklahoma, like we're gonna start hyping them up now. Like I don't even know who else we got at
We
this
probably
point.
need to do that to get back in the Sooners fans' good graces at this point.
Yeah, get back as soon as face is probably gonna hype up Oregon too. Oregon's gonna win 10 games this year and look fantastic. And Dante Moore, I
Yeah,
fully expect is gonna be really good. And I think Dan Manning's gonna win Oregon its first national title. That's
yeah,
all on record now.
yeah. There we go. We got it. We got it done. We're on there. Who am I going to talk about? Nah, I don't like any of these teams. It's all about Clemson and South Carolina, baby.
Well, Clemson and South Carolina, you add them together, that's two. When you add two together, it's four. Let's do some four for four
Yes,
here.
sir.
I remember once I was trying to explain to my sister's dog the combination of her turning two and what that meant, and she doesn't understand.
Unfortunate, you know.
You're two. This is two. And she's just
One,
like,
one, two.
now she's four. And uh, yeah, there's like a song in Righteous Gemstones about called Misbehaving, and she's a misbehavior. So it's like,
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
I don't, I could see Izzy and Remus sing on that song if they're humans.
Brother, talk about some havoc being wreaked, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're long distance boyfriend and girlfriend. That's what's going on.
Soulmates, you know.
So we're gonna do some four for four. After looking at Bill Connelly's SP plus five, SP plus rankings, like one team that like in each league that our opinion might be changing on a little bit because of what we've seen here. Like this may be more impactful rankings than we thought. So let's start with ACC. Who do you got for that? Which team intrigues you?
I think the most intriguing team, and I'm not, and I'll be fully honest with you, like I don't know what my takeaway is in terms of like how it makes me feel going into the season, but it's something I'm gonna be thinking about. The Miami Hurricanes at 12. Because like there's part of me where it's like, okay, yes, Mario Cristobal has been recruiting at a level that can make you do this, but also like up until last year when they were flirting with a college football playoff berth, they'd been underperforming. And so like the fact that they're still 12 tells me a lot about the talent and the upside that this team
Yeah.
absolutely has. But like, I also weigh that with the fact you're at 12 despite all that talent because Mario Cristobal is running your freaking program. And so like, it's a lot to process when I see them in that spot because it feels like a mix of untapped potential, but also self-inflicted untapped potential. And that's like a really weird like thing to kind of marry mentally.
Yeah, I mean, like you're losing Cam Ward, Xavier Restrepo, and Dave Martinez to the NFL. You bring in Carson back. So like you've been
Yeah.
your recruiting must be so good because like the three previous years prior to last year were so bad. And I know we get a little bit of flack here from like Miami fans too. Like last year, I mean, your two losses weren't bad. Like Georgia Tech, you can't figure them out. I mean, that's a rivalry game. And then Syracuse, that was the ultimate Admiral Akbar trap game.
Yeah.
And
We called it. Hey, that's
we
one of
told
our
you
best
that.
calls of the year.
Yeah, and but I didn't have them down, but like I'm probably higher on them than you. But like recruiting is, I can see how that can impact you. Like, yeah, recruiting is just massive here.
Yeah, I mean, like it to me, I guess like the simplest way to say it is like the talent is there for Miami to not just like make the playoff, like win the ACC. Like that talent base is good enough to compete with Clemson. It's just I still have questions about Mario Cristobal and like the entire coaching staff and the way this program is being run.
God, it's like the Jaguars, man. It's like
Dude, right? Like that's actually not a terrible comparison.
your talent's great. I don't know if you know what you're doing, but you're out there.
You've got a lot of fun pieces and a lot of guys I want on my fantasy football team, and you're probably going to go 7-10.
I'll never understand that. So like you got like Brian Thomas Jr. in your receiver core, but then like you want him, but you don't want Trevor Lawrence. It's a
Yeah,
very weird dichotomy.
right.
This is where I've got SMU at
Mhm.
20. I think like I mean I guess they've been winning a lot more than people give them credit for.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of, recent success, proven head coach on the rise in Rhett Lashley, who looks like a character in Righteous Gemstones.
He does. That's actually not that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, good old PJ. And then you got a quarterback who's, played in big games before, and Kevin Jennings. I also think the fact that like this is the program that was willing to give up with 7 to 9 years of TV revenue from the ACC to play up.
Yeah.
They were ready for this, and I think it shows like, we talk about like, okay, it's Clemson, and there's about four teams there. We've said it's Miami, we've said it's SMU, we've said it's Louisville, we've said it's Georgia Tech. It might actually be Duke, and Duke's another team in there too. But
Yeah.
like Duke at 41, I'm sitting here thinking like SMU might get back to Charlotte. And
hmm
then my Duke thing, which is the other one I had, they might be this year's SMU.
I mean, it's entirely possible. I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, we're very high on our boy Manny Diaz as a head coach. This might be a miserable college football season for me, Bueller. That's what I'm kind of realizing as we talk through this.
Yeah, I try
Duke,
to think.
Clemson, South Carolina might be good. Carolina might be an absolute train wreck. Like this is shaping up not great for me.
No, Virginia might be okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, man.
And I guess you have to pull for like the two Georgia teams. I guess it's just Texas. Well,
I can't even pull
Texas.
for New Mexico because the school of survival's moved. Like, what are we doing?
You could be all about Texas, but Quinn Ewers is there. You don't share that same thing with Arch Manning.
Yeah, maybe I'll just be a Dolphins fan. That's what I'm gonna do. Just be a fan of two NFL teams.
Oh, no. You gotta wear a Dan Marino jersey and go to Jersey Mike's. Not Jersey
There we
Mike's,
go.
Jimmy John's. That's a very
Yes, sir.
Jimmy John's definitely a Dan Marino fan. He just looks like it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right, let's move on to the Big Ten. What kind of team do you feel like this changed your perception on a little bit?
I mean, not that we weren't already negative on them, but USC being at the back end of the top 30 at 30, like it kind of really puts into perspective where this program has gone and like how much Lincoln Riley has failed at this point. You know what I mean? Like I because it's the brand that USC is, and like because they're always held in so high regard going into most seasons, like even last year, they were ranked going into last season, and like you you hold them in such high regard because of what they've accomplished in the past that when the decline really starts, you don't really realize it to this level. Like I still would have just assumed that they were a top 25 team in terms of SV plus, knowing that everything that goes into that. And the fact that they're at 30, like, man, that was really eye-opening for me to like see them having fallen that far.
And then you look at the guy who could replace Lincoln Riley, Matt Campbell, being two back of the pace at Iowa State. I could talk about that later, but I don't have USC or Iowa State on here for me.
Yeah.
But like it does kind of show like I think it's just bad coaching, bad.
Mhm.
I don't even know if it's bad staff. Like
Yeah.
I just the pieces don't fit. You went with like anytime USC has ever been good, they've been blue collar.
Mhm.
Pete Carroll kind of had a little bit of that. He had to. He had to grind. He had to reinvent himself. I mean, what John Robinson, John Madden's friend, a little more blue collar there.
Yeah.
John McKay, like this is when USC is good, they do this. They're not running. I can't believe you fired a guy who ran an air raid and brought in a guy with an air raid. Like, what the actual F are you doing?
With a worse defensive coordinator. Let's not forget that he
I
brought Alex
know.
Grinch along with him. Like, we like D'Anton Lynn, and like I do think like that's one of the reasons why I was semi-optimistic going into USC is because of that exact blue collar mentality you're talking about. Like getting someone like Lynn in the building that has that more of that mentality to hopefully permeate through the program. But I guess, 12 months wasn't enough time for that to happen.
You know, there's never enough time when you have the what's the word I'm looking for? The Andy Reid School of Clock Management.
That's right. Correct.
Cousin Sal, the best quote is like, I was watching this TV show, I was pitching this one. It's called 25. It's Andy Reid, but he needs 25 hours to do it. He needs 24 hours, never gets done.
That's good. That's really good.
That's why he wrote for he's a TV comedy writer forever. But yeah, that's
Oh yeah, 100%.
I also kind of took the Hall of Gambling thing from like Against All Odds. That kind of inspired me for Homer Hiccup.
Oh, of course.
Antonio. Cousin Sal would be great on the show if we ever got him on here. I don't know, but
Oh my God. That's pie in the sky, but that'd be good stuff.
that'd be good stuff. So the two Big Ten teams I've got, I had Illinois.
Mhm.
I felt like this was like saying, okay, they're really actually ready. This reaffirmed everything that I thought about them. Good head coach, proven
Yeah.
quarterback. They've stabilized, they've recruited there. It kind of leads me to believe like they could be that fourth team in the Big Ten this year. I think there's four ahead of them. It's obviously the big three with Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State. I think Michigan's ahead, and I think that might be it if I'm looking at the numbers here. Yeah, I guess I don't want to do the math in my head, but Illinois is basically where I think they're going to be, so that reaffirms them. Maybe we get high in Illinois. Take some of the
Hey,
South.
there we go. There we go. That feels like a emotionally safe bet for us to make.
And then and the notion of you feeling about USC, Nebraska being at like 33.
Yeah.
They're the ninth team here in the Big Ten. And we're sitting there thinking that it's going to pop, it's going to work under Matt Rule. This is the Matt Rule pop year. A team behind them, the Washington Huskies, didn't lose a home game last year with a new head coach and Jed Fish losing so much talent and coaching staff to the other jobs and everything like that. So
I've got
I
some
kind of
Washington takes cooking too. You want to talk about teams that I could be dangerously high on? I feel like we might have forgotten that Jed Fish can coach a football team.
that's what I'm saying. The Nebraska stuff of it all. It kind of feels like everything just keeps coming up short. And this is the one program that I thought like the unintended consequences. It's like, yeah, we're not actually going to schedule anybody in the non-conference.
Yeah.
Like it's just gonna you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. It almost feels like Matt Rule is running a Ponzi scheme there in Lincoln.
Hey, there's a lot of Ponzi scheme coaches right now. That might be a good segment for some point of this. Is like the coaches of Enron.
The Bernie Madoff coach of the week.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. I love it.
That is so good. We're doing that now.
God, we might have struck gold there. That's great.
And maybe that's Scott Satterfield, but maybe let's start with his conference now with the Big 12. Who's that for you?
So a little more positive. I was surprised to see Texas Tech at 26. Like I know we're high on them going into this season. Like we're putting them in the category of like that hodgepodge atop the Big 12 that could win the conference. But if we're talking about, what is baked into SP Plus and like the 4-year average, and like we know that the recruiting is going to be good because that's what Joey McGuire does. But like in terms of like success, returning production and things like that, to see them at 26, like I haven't thought about Texas Tech that way over the past few years. You know what I mean? Like I haven't really considered Texas Tech something seriously. Like I've honestly looked at people who have been high at Texas Tech and been like, "What are you smoking, man?" Because like this team ain't it. And like now I'm finally in that category, and like seeing something like this makes me think I might just be late to the party.
Yeah, they were the ultimate satin kimono. That's what inspired the satin kimono in
Yeah.
23, our first year doing this. Everybody like David Ubben was just raving about them the whole time. Like this, that's where it started with the athletic. And obviously maybe he arrives to the party a little bit too early. Maybe he's the first guy that goes to the party.
Yeah, like he's been here for 2 hours. We haven't even set out the hors d'oeuvres, and like he's David Evans just chilling.
Dude, it's like the lady at the backyard wedding I went to, the opposite of the Irish goodbye. I haven't met you yet.
The Irish
I,
hello.
I'm literally in the bathroom combing the back of my hair, trying to get all the wrinkles out, hoping the conditioner works. And she walks in, "Hi, I'm me," and I'm like,
Hi, you. Like, what do you say to that?
here's my partner," and I'm like, I gotta. Can you get the knot out of the back of my head, please?
It's a lot of information. Can you at least help me comb my hair? I don't know.
This show has officially been just driven into the ditch here. But Texas Tech is like, I thought about them too. Obviously, the recruitment's been good. They've at least raised their floor considerably. Like maybe it's like a Spike Dykes floor. I don't know if it's quite got to Mike Leach territory at this point yet, but
Yeah.
Baron Morton Salt.
Baron Saw.
Baron Veruca Salt. Baron Veruca Salt
Yes.
Morton. Veruca sweetheart.
You know what they want now? Tortillas, baby.
Don't open it up. It's not a golden goose. It's
That's
something
right.
far worse. Texas Tech's pretty good there. Like they're like 25, 26 with everything this year.
Yeah. And like I guess like even being high on them, like I looked at it and like it still didn't quite compute for me. You know what I mean?
No. So not quite, but maybe it is now.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
The two that I have for the Big 12, first one's Kansas State coming
Mhm.
in. I think it's 18. They're the highest in the Big 12, ahead of Arizona State at 22, ahead of Texas Tech, BYU, TCU, Utah, Iowa State, and Baylor. What I think this means is Chris Kleiman's probably the best coach in the conference.
Yeah.
It's either him or Matt Campbell, I would argue
Yeah.
at this point. And it's also that I think that there's tremendous growth potential with Avery Johnson there in year three. I'll
Mhm.
tell you what, if they win Farmageddon in Dublin, that might punch their ticket to Arlington. I don't think the lose is going to be punished because I still think they'll be in the mix for it. But like
Right.
that's such a huge pellet in the wall. That's like Georgia, whoever beats Georgia Clemson like last year.
100%. Yeah. I mean, like that's it's a very interesting team. One team that I actually hadn't even thought to look because I hadn't scrolled down this far that I should have probably included for the Big 12. Kansas is at 50. Like
Yeah,
that's a little low, my friend. And like it kind of goes back to a point like you talked about me being a little more, nerdy when it comes to the analytics of football and stuff like that. Kansas is the team that like kind of breaks analytics. That's the Lance Leipold kind of breaks it because like by the numbers, their defense is terrible. Sometimes by the eye test, it's also still terrible. But like their offense doesn't grade out as efficient as it is because like they score a lot of, or sorry, not as efficient's not the right word, but like as sustainable as like proper as like some of these other teams because they don't play at a fast pace, but they score at the level of a team that plays at a fast pace. And I'm like, I feel like these analytics don't necessarily bake into the fact that Lance Leipold is just a really damn good offensive coach. Like,
I had to check the Braves score right now. I'm not watching it now. They are losing 4-3 to the Padres. The
damn
Padres
it.
always have our number, but like Lance Leipold is the Brian Snitker of college football.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Analytics can't quantify that, man.
No, a lot of success late to the party, but doing more good. People are like, driving me crazy.
I don't know.
Kansas is a good one here, and the other one I had on here was TCU.
Mm,
I think people forgot the fact they won their final four games. I think they're riding the longest active winning streak. It's like Ohio State, Illinois, I think Marshall, like
yeah, Marshall, who doesn't like looks not like just like got a facelift over the offseason, does not look the same, and like it was a botched facelift. Like they're a much worse program than they were now, or like
yeah,
were a year ago.
yeah. That's Jeff Bezos' wife now. She is Marshall.
She is Marshall. Yes.
Yeah, there's an estate podcast showing me this. She's like, she was pretty, and now looks she got baby oil injected in her face.
Hey, he needed a little something to keep the shine on the top of his head.
Can people just start leaving well enough alone? Like, I don't understand this in our society. Like, it's fine.
No, they can't, but they should. Like that's the point.
Yeah. Yeah, let's move on to the SEC here. Who do you got for that?
I think, and this is the when I mentioned earlier when we were doing Goldilocks, the team that I wanted to talk a little more about. It's Ole Miss sitting at 11, and like I guess because of the disappointment that we experienced with Ole Miss last year, like you had everything right in front of you. It was the proper time to be able to do this. Like we've kind of dismissed Ole Miss for the most part going into the 2025 season. And the fact that you're baking 4 years of success, like 4 years of whatever your program's like level of success was into these rankings, and the fact that you're banking recruiting transfers, like you're baking all this in there, and you're still coming in at 11 despite all that you lost, despite everything that's like all the disappointment. I guess I just didn't think that Ole Miss would still grade out like this, like as a top 15 team, much less, a top 11 team. Like I think maybe I'm more open to the idea that Ole Miss is going to be better than I thought they were. And that's not just an Austin Simmons thing. Like that's just like I thought that Ole Miss was just going to take a step back, like categorically. And maybe that's not as much the case as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, the returns have been good. They've won basically every year since COVID, since Lane's first year
Yeah.
there. And we were told that last year was going to be the best year that Ole Miss football since what peak Johnny Vaught.
Right.
Nobody alive remembers that stuff.
I mean, like for us personally, it's just the excitement that we experience with Chad Kelly,
Yeah.
the true GOAT in our hearts.
We all had friends named Chad Kelly. We were not allowed to go over to his house.
100%.
Julie being Ruth, you're like, no, you can't go to his house.
Absolutely not. You're
No,
banned.
no, you can't come here either.
No. Go meet in the Sitgo parking lot.
Or quick trip either way.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right.
go eat out behind the Taco Mac.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's how that was. Ole Miss, it's like we basically were told that last year was going to be the year it was going to happen, and it
Mhm.
didn't. And like, oh, it's going to fall off a cliff precipitously. I'm like, well, maybe it will, but maybe it won't, and maybe the recent data says that they're probably not going to be as bad as we think they're going to be.
And I mean, like, truthfully, like as I said earlier, I like Lane Kiffin as a coach. Like, I understand like the criticisms of not being able to get it done, not being able to get it over the hump at Ole Miss, but like he's still a damn good football coach at the end of the day.
Yeah, you look at like their schedule last year. Okay, like you're probably not going to beat Georgia in
Mhm.
Athens. You could probably beat Florida at home.
You could
Uh,
probably beat South Carolina, but it's going to be a much tougher game when Lenora Sellers is 100% healthy.
you're probably not losing on the road at Kentucky.
Yeah.
The Magnolia could go either way.
Yeah. Like I mean, it's still there for the taking.
Yes, and I'll go with my two here to wrap this up before we get to our final topic. I've got Florida and Missouri as my two.
Hmm.
Florida at 14, I think it just says that like the recruitment's been there. They may have the
Yeah.
quarterback. I'm terrified of Jacksonville. I may be in a Gators house right now. I keep going to these places, man.
Bad juju. You
Yeah,
gotta, maybe nip that in the bud come late October.
there's a ceramic gator about 20 feet or feet away from me.
If
Yeah,
I've learned anything in my life, it's that you don't want to like shove that in someone's face because that's how you get chubs falling out of a window. Shouts to Happy Gilmore.
I know. Hey, rest in peace, Carl Weathers.
That's right.
He
Twice.
didn't, he didn't die. He didn't die then, but he died later. This is Boston.
That's right.
I think Florida, like the schedule's tough and everything like that, but the recruitment's been good. I think people are all in on Billy Napier there. And as long as Scott Strickland's like in his corner, he'll be given the opportunity. Again, tie with Oklahoma for the toughest schedule in the country, but people are kind of high in both these programs. It's going to be a big jump man year, apparently.
Uh, and not in Chapel Hill. That's for damn sure.
It's going to be a big jump man year wherever people are taking off outside of Chapel Hill.
the
That's
the outsourcing of the jump man is really killing North
Yeah,
Carolina.
it's not great. At the Mizzou, it's like the North Carolina State of the SEC. It's like when you think they're going to be bad, they're good, and when you think they're good, they're bad. And Drinkwitz can coach. I think that maybe it's going to be addition by subtraction without Luther Burden the third there. We think Bo Pribula is going to come in there and be a better
Mhm.
quarterback than what they've had. They're not messing around with Drew Pine. He loves costing taxpayers money.
That's right.
Schedule's decent. I mean, it's probably one of the softer ones in the SEC. I think along with Ole Miss and Tennessee. So maybe you have an opportunity to pick up a few wins there. Um, I don't know, but then again, like you're another year removed from not having a Blake
Mhm.
Baker as your defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
You're also not playing SEC East schedule, so I don't really know. But Mizzou, I don't think they're going to be as frustratingly in the top 25 as they were last year, but like maybe we've been down to them a little more because they were just so frustrating.
I mean, like, yeah, I think last year, like, and to your, like, I think my main takeaway when you look at Mizzou is like, and you mentioned it, like, Drink is also a damn good football coach, and like, we talked all last year about how crappy that Mizzou team was and how like underachieving they were. They still won 9 games. Like if that's your floor, if you're Drink, like, you're probably doing pretty damn good, man.
I think so. If the drink is the floor, then the floor is a tasty place.
That's right. That's what I'm saying, man. So
And
that's what's written on the wall of my favorite dive bar, you know?
and whether you're not in a dive bar, in a parking lot, in a ballpark, at a lake, or in a apartment or a house here, it is Memorial Day, and we're gonna remember some dudes to finish up the show here. We're gonna do
Yes,
three
sir.
apiece. You go first because I have a bunch from my list. You go first. Who do you want to remember?
First one, and I've had this written down for about 4 weeks now because I remembered him and I was like, I gotta remember him on the program. Former Hawaii quarterback Cole McDonald. Absolute legend with the blonde dreads coming out there.
Yes.
Like, I've never been more excited to watch Hawaii football. And that's saying something because I enjoy a late night Hawaii football game. But like Cole McDonald was the most erratic player I've ever seen in my entire life. He either looked like he was getting broken in half, he was either giving the ball to the other team, or he was scoring a 65-yard touchdown, either with his legs or with his arms. It didn't matter. He was like, there was the three true outcomes of Cole McDonald, and it was a absolute joy to watch.
Cole McDonald had a ball. Hawaii.
That's right.
I can't spell Hawaii on the fly.
Brother, I can't spell it right now. Don't worry about it.
Where's the comma or apostrophe go? I don't know, man. Maybe it's a tilde. Maybe it's a Curacao thing.
It's all in your mind.
There's only like 12 letters in their alphabet, but it's so hard.
That's right.
And don't get me to pronounce that fish that I can't pronounce.
Oh, when the NC State podcast and I went to Hawaii, it was a constant battle of me just mispronouncing words. Like we know that's my eternal struggle anyway, and then you throw in the Hawaiian language to it. I was butchering things left and right.
I think the only place you're probably more fish out of water is Bangkok, Thailand.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
It's just I'm not even gonna try it. I'm just mute.
I'm normally someone who tries to, do this, but in Hawaii, like I was the point at the menu guy, like I need this. This is what I'm looking for.
And the guy that I'm gonna point at the menu guy, this I need this. This is what I'm looking for. I'm gonna go with Arkansas legendary running back Darren McFadden.
Oh, hell yes. Hell yes.
There was a time when I was in high school where like Arkansas was like this is the peak of Arkansas beyond the Frank Broyles era in the 60s when like Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones, and Lance Allworth played for them and stuff.
Hmm.
This guy was playing for Houston with like Felix Jones and Matt Jones at quarterback.
Yeah.
They never won the SEC, but they were a factor there. Arkansas was must-watch television there in 2006 and 7 because of Darren McFadden. And if a coin flip would have gone differently, a three-way coin flip between the Falcons, Raiders, and Chiefs, maybe he's playing in Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, dude was so much fun to watch, and like he was he it was unfortunate to watch him at the Raiders because the Raiders were so like that was like peak Raiders dysfunction at that point. And like it felt like he didn't get like I'll never like forget that he like my feelings of him having the talent to be like the next great running back. I can't tell you how many times I drafted him in fantasy banking on that and then it not happening.
I forget who the Chiefs took at 5, but McFadden went 4, Matt Ryan went 3, and then the Longs, Chris Long, and then Jake Long and Chris Long went 1-2 to the Dolphins and Rams and everything like
Yeah,
that. But like Matt Ryan with the Chiefs, and then if the Falcons didn't take Matt Ryan, maybe they take Joe Flacco, maybe get Matthew Stafford a year later.
that'd be sick. That'd be sick.
Matt Ryan was sick, but like Darren McFadden just went to the Raiders in the absolute worst time. But what an unbelievable player there for the Hogs.
Yeah, that was like the Darius Hayward Bay era of the Raiders that we're talking about. Tough
All right.
scenes.
I don't know if you want to remember him, but who do you want to remember next?
I'm gonna remember another wide receiver, but one who's more near and dear to my heart. My favorite short white king, Ryan Switzer, baby. uh, in doing a little bit of research that I do for guys remembering dudes, I'll tell you one thing I didn't know. That is North Carolina's all-time leading receiver, and like
Unbelievable.
like dude is my size, legitimately. Like I'm 5'9", 200. That's basically what Ryan Switzer's build is. Like that's an insane thing to consider that you can lead a program in all-time receiving yards. Like especially a program that's had guys like Hakeem Nicks, guys that like Diami Brown, Daz New, like the guy Josh Downs. So many good wide receivers have come through here, and Ryan Switzer is like not just the leader by a lot. Like I think he has like a 500-yard cushion on the second place on that career receiving yards list. So like, but like he was just it was electricity every time he touched the ball, and like he even carried that his first few years in the NFL like as a punt returner. Like he was just a dude that was impossible to and like it wasn't a Danny Woodhead situation where he's being called deceptively quick because he's white. No, he really wasn't that athletic. Like he was fine athletic, but he wasn't like elite athletic. And like he was just hard to bring down. And it was one of the more mind-bending things I've ever watched. But as a Carolina fan, absolutely loved.
Um, Played for the Raiders, where they were not as dysfunctional, but still pretty dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the interim at Tulsa last year?
Was he really? I didn't even know he
Yeah,
was coaching.
he's out there. He was going to be on my list for a future episode, but that's okay.
Sorry, sorry.
You got him here. So who am I going to remember next? I'm going to remember. Let's go with Stanford edge rusher Shane Skov.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a deep cut, baby. I love it.
So for the record, my high school friend, a guy I played travel baseball with and lacrosse with, Chase Thomas, was in the same recruiting class as Shane Skov and same era of Stanford. It's like them, and I believe it was Trent Murphy was the other guy. Trent Murphy had the better career. I think he played for Washington,
Mm.
but it was a sack party. It's like peak Harbaugh, like getting after the passer. Shane Skov was just like just the name Shane Skov just instilled so much fear in the eyes of everybody in the Pac-12. You do not want to deal with whatever they were bringing on that Saturday. That's
That's
Shane Skov, man. It's good.
100%. What a legend, dude. Love that.
All right. What's your last one you got?
All right, this is probably one of my more deeper cuts, and he obviously was a part of a very famous college football game, but outside of that, he didn't necessarily have the same notoriety. Former Appalachian State quarterback Armani Edwards.
Yeah.
Dude was an absolute monster for especially his first two years at App State. He was a 4-year starter there. I believe he went on to play for the Panthers as a wide receiver and like bounced around the league as a wide receiver who really didn't get used a lot. I accidentally deleted the tab with his stats, but I got him back now. In the 2006 season, as a true freshman, he threw for 2,251 yards, 15 passing touchdowns, but then proceeded to rush for 1,100 yards and 15 more touchdowns. Then his sophomore season, the year that they upset Michigan in the greatest upset in college football history, threw for 17 touchdowns, but also rushed for 1,500 yards and 21 touchdowns. Dude was unbelievable. His last 2 years, the passing numbers improved. Like in 2008, he threw for 2,900 yards with 30 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He was trying to become a passer for the NFL and like run a little bit less. Obviously, didn't work out since he went in the NFL as a wide receiver. But and as someone who watched a decent amount of Appalachian State football, Armani Edwards was the guy who kind of put Appalachian State football like in the with the ability to make that transition from the FCS level to the FBS level. He kind of started that momentum, not just the Michigan upset, but like the sustained success. He was a national champion in 2006 and 2007. They didn't replicate that, obviously, beyond that. But like Armani Edwards is someone who, being from Western North Carolina, I can't describe to you how much he means to that area of the United States. Like he's up there with like if you're a Panthers fan, it's like Cam Newton and Armani Edwards. Like that's how you're ranking those two, like right next to each other.
Jake Delhomme in shambles.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, he ruined a lot of goodwill with some of those interception filled playoff
Yeah.
games.
The double dipper, man. That guy living his best life.
Oh, absolutely.
But Armani Edwards, I believe, is now in the College Football Hall of Fame, or very relatively
Mhm.
recently. I
Yeah.
know he did a little bit in the NFL. I forget what he played for, like Browns or Jets, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he bounced around a lot. I know he's with the Panthers for a little bit because everyone was super hype about that. His
Yeah,
whole rookie contract, and then the Browns was on the Bears practice squad. They played in the CFL for a long time. Played CFL from 2016 to 2021. So bounced around a good bit.
who did he play with in the CFL?
2016 he was with Saskatchewan, the Rough Riders. 2017 to 2019 he was with the Toronto Argonauts. Won a Grey Cup in 2017, and then the Edmonton Elks is where he
The-
finished his career.
yeah, I don't know if they're the Elks then, but the Elks now.
They're the Elks now.
I would have AJ Hawk could play for the Elks, but yeah, Armani Edwards. Daniel Jeremiah ran, so Armani Edwards could run a little less.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm going to finish with a guy. I don't know. He's high up on my list, and I'm going to use it. I had three quarterbacks up there, all in the SEC. We're gonna empty the chamber here with LSU quarterback Jarrett Lee.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if he was good, but he was kind of like if Jay Cutler had a kid brother that played at LSU, it was him. He was always like LSU that era with like Les Miles. I mean, it was in between like what Matt Flynn and Jamarcus Russell and a bunch of
Mhm.
other stuff. Justin Jefferson's brother, Jordan Jefferson.
Yeah, I'm trying. There was another dude that was in that mix, and I'm totally blanking on his name.
Steven Rivers probably at some point.
Yeah, that I think that might be the one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like this guy, whenever he was on the field, like weird stuff happened. He didn't look like a football player. He could throw like spiral was nice. No chance of playing in the NFL. Maybe won a national championship. Definitely played for one. 'Cause he's kind of in that '07 to like 12 era of
Hmm.
LSU football. I just kind of think like this guy just epitomized everything with Les Miles LSU football in a good, bad, spectacular, downright ugly way. He was just there for it all. He was the fly on the wall.
He was the fly on the wall who was also just like a pint of Jack Daniels deep, which was the Les Miles football era in a nutshell, or LSU era, excuse me.
He gets the water of life from the Jack Daniels, and then Les comes down there after having some Jack and eats a blade of grass that Jared Lee was hanging out on.
This is a sacred blade of grass, brother.
And this was a sacred podcast. Yes, this was episode 178 of False Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at TheSizzle20. You can follow the show at CFB False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe if you on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's
Five of
podcasts.
them. Give us five of them.
It's a very righteous, the Righteous Gemstones podcast.
Dude, if I'm looking beat red because I'm feeling beat red, it is like 100 degrees in this office. So like I'm sitting here laughing and just sweating my ass off.
It's a little overcast here in Atlanta. You may not be running you don't have AC, you have central heat.
Yeah, we're hurting. We're hurting today, boys.
Yeah, we're hurting today here, but yeah, obviously this weekend, Memorial Day. I know it's about like hanging out outside, but it's also about remembering the fallen. A lot of people out there did a lot of stuff, so Cody and I could do something dumb like this for a living. Uh,
100%.
yeah, gotta respect the people who take care of us. Whether or not we agree with every war we're fighting in or everything, you always gotta go out there and support the Chiefs.
100%, man. It's not lost on us that we got a pretty good gig here, just sitting here and going completely off the rails about Cole McDonald and things of that nature. Like we're very privileged, and it's not because of anything we did. That's for sure.
No, we may get stuff wrong. We may forget what Mateo Uyunglele was doing, in high school or playing or whatever. But like, we
I
try
can't
to be
even
the
say the name, so there's that.
no, no. It's the Mateo part that gets you too.
That's right. That's Matty O, baby.
Mario, Daddy-O, Daddy-O. Oh my God. But yeah, like we do this stuff, we do the show because or cover the sport the way we do because we have to be the distraction. I think during COVID, I think
Mhm.
we both found out how important our job is because life's hard and life is tough for a lot of people out there, especially if your name's Mateo Uyunglele. You got to learn to spell that at 5 years old. Good luck.
Matty O you, baby. Let Matty O you.
And let Matty owe you 10 more sacks this year for the Oregon Ducks. And this is false.